Thank you all. Hello, everybody. I am Susanna, and I am one of the staff in the Harmony House. And I think it's our great honor to have these opportunities to introduce our services to you all. And maybe before the introduction, I want you all to give a big claps to Louisa because she is so supportive to our services. And she will donate all the book sales in the book fair to us, Harmony House. Thank you so much, Louisa. Okay. Actually, I have been working in Harmony House for 4 years. And the reason that I joined this organization is that I really like and also support and believe in its mission. Does anyone know our mission? No. Okay, let me tell you. Our mission is all humans should have the right to live with dignity and respect, and also to be free from any violence and any kind of abuse. I think that is the reason that I joined Harmony House. And as a staff, after working in Harmony House, I really appreciated all our staff that they devote themselves to serve the victims of domestic violence, regardless the age, the sex, and also the nationality, which means that our service targets are very huge. No matter they are the female or male victims of domestic violence, or they are the abused children, or even they are the male or female batterers. And also some children may not be being abused by their parents, but maybe every day they witness the domestic violence happened in their family. We will also provide the services to all these children as well. And also, I think, does anyone know the name of Harmony House is not at the beginning? It doesn't refer to mainly an organization. Actually, it refers to our first shelter in Hong Kong. Because right now we have 4 centers in Hong Kong. And the first center is our shelter, which was established in 1985. And in 1980s is the first shelter, which provides the accommodation services for the victims of domestic violence in Hong Kong at that time. And during that period of time, our shelter is very small. We only got 2 staffs and only 5 beds provided for the victims. But up till now, we got the largest shelter in Hong Kong. Actually, in Hong Kong, we have 5 women's shelters right now. And the one that we have is the biggest one, and we have 73 beds in our shelter and more than 20 staff working in the shelter. And every year, there's around 250 women and their children admitted in our shelter. And besides the shelter, as I just said, we have 3 centers located in Hong Kong, in the district of Kwun Tong, Yuen Long, and Hai Chung. And anyone know why we located or established our center in these districts? Anyone try? Sean, do you know the reason? Yes, correct. Because these 3 districts have the highest number of reported cases of domestic violence in Hong Kong. That's why we set our center in these 3 districts so that our potential service user can easily approach it and maybe they are more willing to seek help or easier to seek help from us. That's why we locate our centers in these 3 areas. And in these 4 centers, we provide similar services, but for different targets. Because, in the shelter, we will provide the service mainly for the female victims of the abused women and their children. But the other 3 centers, we will provide the services for the batterer or the abused man or women. I also really hope that I can through this seminar to tell you that there are numbers of men being abused by their partners. And yes, that's true. Yes, because we have a pilot project just finished in last year, and it's supported by Jockey Cup. And we do have more than 200 cases of abused men really using our service and join our project in the last 6 years. There is really a service need of abused men need the service from us. And besides, we also, besides the shelter, we will also provide the case counseling, the therapeutic group, and also preventive programs for our service target. And we got the 4 centers in Hong Kong, and the funders mainly come from the government and also the Jockey Cup. Jockey Cup is another one of the main funders for our projects. And also there is the Community Chest of Hong Kong and also the Bank of China. And also we are so thankful to have the support from many corporates and individuals who are really like to work together with us and provide many tangible and also the intangible services for our service user. And in last, maybe I just want to say that today's seminar's topic is about your first job in defining your future. And I also want to share that my first job was work in another shelter, but not Harmony House, is another organization. And at that moment, I worked in a shelter, providing the immediate protection and also the emotional support for the women. As you know, all those women who are admitted in the shelter are just facing the family crisis or domestic issue at home. So when they come to the shelter, the emotional is not stable, and I have to provide the support, the emotional support for them at that time. And after that, I left the social welfare sector. Then I joined the government department and also some public bodies. But eventually, after 10 years, I'm returned back and working in the social welfare sector now. Yes, so I could say that it's my pleasure to work in Harmony House. We really have a good team and colleagues to devote themselves and willing to put many effort to help our service user. So I quite agree on this topic that I think maybe because of my first job, which leads me to what I am doing now and who I am. Okay, maybe I will leave the time to Louisa to share her story.
So you wonder why Hong Kong government, Hong Kong Jockey Club, social welfare, and Bank of China are not sufficient, and why we need your help. Because I think most of these organizations are focusing on support of victims. There's never enough shelter. There's never enough hotlines. But I think the more important thing is the preventions of domestic violence. You read in newspaper all the tragic stories. You wish somebody has done something about it at some point in their lives. So I use my book to help them, hopefully, to publish more book. And my friend Frank here is from Scholastic, and he published, not he, but Scholastic published Harry Potter. So this book about helping children to manage their unresolved emotions. I'm sure all of us have that too. Using cartoon and little story of little octopus, and also the 28 journey of the long-legged zebra. So this book was developed by Harmony House, but they are not enough. And they also have quite a lot of these little van going into public housing to help children to speak, to play, and so that they can voice out. And so this is one of the reasons why Harmony House would need to be more public in the society, not just something that we don't talk about, and that the preventions of domestic violence are often not in the government agenda. So I think that we should modernize the objective. And it goes back to why I published my book. Not only I wanted to help in communities overall, but I think that I'm like, today you are my book, everyone here, my family, my friends that are with me for decades, and also young and not so young. And life is a long journey, and I have lived very long. And I started writing my book in November 2019 when my mother passed away. And I started writing and trying to remember everything when people told me that your mother is in better place, time will heal. And I said, no, I don't want time to heal. I want time stop. And that she is with me always. And I want to remember everything. We know I have dementia. I don't want to be dementia and don't remember anything. And so I wanted to show you a video that sum up perhaps why each one of you, I'm sure, have the moments when your parents on the way to leave you or left you already. And I also want to talk about, at the end of my sessions, the cycles of life and how I have come to understand and to accept and to learn to live with it. So may I introduce you a video? And I start chasing after the butterfly and trying to catch the butterfly. And this very kind old technical difficulties. Wow, I could be that too. I wish, yeah. Okay. It's a lesson that no matter how well you think you are prepared, you are not actually prepared. So while we're waiting, you know, many of you know me, I'm the most impatient person in the world. Since the topic is about how important your first job, Roger, you remember your first job? In defining your future?
Yes and no.
Yes or no? Okay, share with us.
Well, my first job, unfortunately, wasn't a real job in the sense that I was a U.S. naval officer, so I'm no longer a naval officer. So, you know, now I'm teaching at the university at Hong Kong University of Science and Technology. But I think it had some relationship. Yeah, but not direct relationship. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you know that I have 3 jobs, okay? And average people in the world stay in their job for 4 years. Men stay a little longer, 4.5. And do you know that, I'm sure many of you know that the person who worked in the same job the longest, how many years? Julius?
20.
85 years. And he's Mr. Hartman in Brazil. Okay. And and he's 100 years old and he's still alive. So working in the same job forever doesn't kill you, okay? And also, in the average, everyone have 12 jobs, okay? But doesn't encourage to change jobs, okay? I have 3, so I have been a headhunter now since 1986. So, but in the first 2 years, and I will share with you later on how those 2 jobs do help me in gaining the confidence and the courage to stay. To leave, you don't need courage. To stay in your job, need more courage. So may I now show you the video? I was born in Hong Kong's most famous Kowloon Wall City. At that time, it's the largest slum in the world. Many people would think about it as poverty and crimes. But for me, I remember hardworking neighbors who were determined to seek a better life. My mom worked very hard to get into the lottery, and finally she won and be able to move all of us into Kennedy Public Housing Estate. Today it's called Sai Wan Chun. And I remember playing in the nearby park, and I suddenly saw butterflies, and I start chasing after the butterfly and trying to catch the butterflies. And this very kind old lady told me, say, little girl, don't catch the butterfly. When you catch them, they will die. Just enjoy the moment when they appear. My mom, the rock of my life, always told us, we don't have much, but when we give, we must touch hearts. And I now remember why dim sum, which literally means touch heart, was Mom's most favorite food in the world. Mom also taught us that where you were born should not determine or define your future. It's up to us. Throughout my growing up, I have had strong will and was determined and resilient. I was able to go to Harvard, work in Wall Street, and become a self-made entrepreneur, creating the industry of headhunting. Despite all those achievements, I have to face many, many challenges and failures. And the biggest one is a result of overconfidence. There are no ugly stories, only stories that I never heard. I sincerely wish that through writing my own book, telling my own stories, I can encourage young women today, particularly Asian women, to have the courage to live with the many constraints of life, decisions made, and to continue the journey ahead, regardless of whether they have a destiny in mind. to continue living, to celebrate the beauty of becoming, regardless of the situation they're in. Let's keep chasing butterflies. Many of you know the iconic Wall City. And I'm very fortunate to get the permission from Ian Lambert, who's the photographer who taken this iconic photo probably just before the city was torn down in the early 90s. And in his book called City of Darkness. I was young. My brother is here. He wasn't born at that time. And that I remember the opposite of what people remember and documented the Wall City of being triad, prostitutions, drugs, and you name it. I remember that our neighbors are kind. Our neighbors even want to adopt me as a little girl with big eyes. And who wouldn't, right? And that all those fun stories had helped me to know that no matter where you were born, it shouldn't determine or define your future. And I started writing the book when my mother passed away. And that was, as I said, 2019. Writing is easy. I wrote on my iPhone, and that it took me many, many years, and COVID helped. I have all the time. And I want to remember everything I can about my mom and then my father, who passed away in 1997. And I started wondering, why am I alone? I think when your parent passed away, you feel like you're an orphan. I have no children, no husband. I feel very lonely, alone in the world. I said, have I done something wrong? Could have made some decision in my life that could have changed my destiny? So I start writing and writing and writing. Then almost 200 words, and I was still writing because COVID just kept going. And I also wanted to write not only my own stories, but how my own story intertwined with that of Hong Kong. Many of you would know that I love Hong Kong. We all love our home. And in the loneliness moment, you remember your fond stories of you growing up. That give me the peace and purpose of continuing. And after all those hundreds of words, I felt I'm okay. I'm okay. I have friends, family, and I have 32 family members. I'm now a great-grand aunt. They call me 姑婆. I just said, just don't call me 老姑婆. I will be okay. And so then writing is one thing. Publishing is a different decisions. And why would anyone want to read my book? And I tell you, it's not easy. I've been selling book in the book booth in the last few days, and I even sell for $60 for a student. And there are two of them. They say they were trying to decide to buy. And I said, well, why don't you just give 30 each, and then you can share the book. And then they later on decided not to buy the book after my 10 minutes of pouring my heart out. And I almost wanted to say, I give you the book, but I didn't really want to break the rules that I set up. So selling book is not easy. And having someone to learn, and I have 1 million book in the book fair, and so I'm like, how do I compete with this 1 million book? My mom didn't go to school like her generation. I felt like I'm their voice. My mother learned how to read by reading newspaper. Every morning she bought Weibo and what's the other one? Tony help it. Weibo and 經濟日報 and 星島. Yeah. And she reads and reads and reads, and I often wonder what she reads because she can't really read. And so I hope I show my mom we're listening, that reading, writing are things and thoughts. Sometimes word can only be expressed in words. And so that gave me the courage to hopefully give the voice not only from my mom, but from my mom's generation, that we're here, we're listening. And then I also thought that if I have the courage to face my own demons and the butterflies, will I have the courage to share it? And yesterday, the newspaper, Hong Kong Economic Times, has an article on me, and thank you for the publicity. And they all say there is no bad publicity. Any publicity is good publicity. But when I read the article, I thought the article is all about how low my life was. And I said, yeah, I'm naked. I have no clothes in public. Everything about me is in the book. And that is also why I wanted to give the courage of women in particular, that there is no ugly butterfly. There is no ugly stories. And that for everyone, in your own life, you never a strict line. And if I tell you I only have good stories, maybe the book will not sell. If I tell you I only have bad story, the book may not sell. But if I tell you, this is the only story that I have, and it's my life, and every decision that I made, and many of them are not so good, are from my heart and truthful to myself, which I hope everyone in the world would do the same. So then I decided that if I have the courage to face my demons and the butterfly, I hope that this will help others to do the same, because I don't believe that life is only about butterfly. And that demons in us, hello, I talk to them every day. And that the self-awareness is what we must have to be able to, when I say the courage to stay and the courage to leave are both courageous acts. And so I decided, great, I'm going to do it. And partly also, I decided to publish is part of me. I challenge myself all the time, every day. Many of you, my family would know, and Julius would know. I challenge myself. I seek challenges. So I said, will I be able to be an author, to be able to publish a book that somebody will read? And what obviously I write and think in English, but I have never written a book. And then I have help along the way. I have friends like Vernon, and he is an English speaker. I asked him to read my manuscript. to make sure that my English is spelled correctly, but more importantly, grammatical and all of that. It's a lot of work. So I also curiosity that if I could write a good book, I don't want to write a book, I want to write a good book. And that, how do I write a good book? So that was also part of my curiosity and my seeking challenge along the journey to decide, let's go for it. And then once I decided to go for it, then I decide, should I publish it? So I've gone through the road of publishing, self-publishing, talking to many publishers. And then they say you have to change all the names, including my name. So I wasn't going to change my name, even though every other's name had been changed. And that I know that I have only one life, one book. And Frank told me that a million years from now, I will be up there. If someone wants to know what happened to Louisa Wong, they can find the book. But if I'm known as Susie Lulu, then nobody would know. So I decided that I must control this life of the book that I had poured my heart out and have the biggest testament of courage. I'm always a courageous person in my life. I took risk. I jumped into decisions like marriage. I took the wrong decisions. And that this is the biggest courage I test myself. And when I read the newspaper yesterday, I almost say, maybe I shouldn't have published the book. And after all this afterthought, I said that I'm in the journey, I can't go back now. And that at the end of the day, life is not about making only good decisions. And that if I decided to publish the book, I must have lived with the consequence. Hong Kong is a money town. Many of you live here a long time. And I'm always one of those that don't want to live with the establishment. Not that I'm rebellion. I always feel people should not entitle to things unless those that they have worked hard to fight for and to stand for. And that perhaps my unconventional life, I was probably sitting next to a headmaster the other day on dinner, and she challenged me to say, you know, you have a very unconventional life. What do you think your family thought about you writing the book and publishing the book? And luckily, obviously, my brother gave that book to her as a gift. So I think that the unconventional life is nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing that we should be apologetic about. Life, everyone is subject to judgment, criticism, and even legal. So I today have to live with insecurities that many of you, I'm sure, are living with. And even doubting myself yesterday is part of my insecurities that I will continue to live. And many of you know that insecurity doesn't discriminate. It doesn't discriminate whether you're male or female, young or old, American, Chinese. We all have our own insecurities. So living with insecurities is very important for us to self-aware how to overcome that insecurity. So yesterday I went for a drink and I said, after a drink, I said, I feel okay now. and I wanted to get back to part of the purpose of this book talk, because it's the theme of this Hong Kong Trade Development Council book fair is for young adults and children. I felt that maybe jobs, since I'm the job guru, so I'm the job guru. I dedicate my whole life since 1986 to jobs. I thought maybe perhaps the young people, another reason that I published my book is that I hope that young people today are not too busy worrying about their future and perhaps can pause for a moment to try to appreciate the past. Not so much about history of Chinese history. It's about history that can help you to put life into perspective, whether it's your life or the life of Hong Kong into perspective. And so I think that for me, job, obviously I have a job guru. So when I say, that 85 years job, and I've been in the same job. I have two companies. I started my first job with an American company, and I started to be the headhunter the first headhunter in China in 1996. In 1996, I'm sure, were you born at that time? Season?
No.
No? Okay. Let alone being the headhunter in China, and my Mandarin was non-existent at that time. And there's no supply, and there's no demand of any kind in China as far as talent, hiring, foreign investment in China. So let me just say that when I graduated from Harvard, and I was very fortunate to have an opportunity to go to Harvard, basically by accident. Read my book, Why Is an Accident? I landed in Harvard without having any clue of what I was supposed to do, and I hardly spoke English. And then after Harvard, it's quite easy. You're expected to work for Wall Street, or go to McKinsey, or go to Goldman Sachs. But I didn't get a job from either one of them. And so I ended up working for Morgan Guarantee Trust, which today is the JP Morgan. So the first job, sometime, is to follow what other people expect you to do. In this case, I also selfishly, because I didn't, I wasn't an economic major or a finance major, so going into Harvard, I have to learn to speak English, and I have to learn how to count. I was a biology major at the University of Toronto and trying to become a nutritionist. And I thought nutrition is about cooking, so I said, oh, that sounds quite good. So then somehow I ended up at Harvard, and then I say, okay, I have to really go to learn what is economics and what is finance and what is accounting. So I ended up also following the best training program in the street. So Morgan gave me a chance, so I said, okay. So that's the first job. So many of you young, I don't want to say young people, but young generations, first job is never the most important job, often, except the guy who had 85 years in his life. And also, you can say Mark Zuckerberg, he has only one job, but he has had many jobs in his life. So it's not about the same positions that you're in. It's how any job help you to get the next job. And job security is actually about your confidence that you can always find a job. So the first job that I took, obviously going into Wall Street, and I was a bad student because I thought that I know the professor and I know it, but then so I ended up going to Studio 54. Many of you may know Studio 54 is the go-go world in New York at that time. And when I say that the biggest courage is to stay in your same job, it's easy to leave your job because either get paid more or you can get to go to some places, like go to, whatever, Singapore or Paris. But to stay in one job is need a lot of confidence. So when I then, that banking wasn't for me because I always said, oh, it took 10 people to make one decision at that time, and it took 10 years to find out whether you make the right decisions. In those days, I was in lending, so those days, lending is a very slow process. So I decided then, I said, I want to go into other things, and I ended up going into fashion buying because I thought that fashion buying, you make decision every day. And if you bought the wrong style, you just mark down, and then you move on to the next style. So I thought that would be my kind of job. So many people understand that job is about what you like or what you're good at. So what is the perfect job for you?
For me, I think maybe stable and maybe some creation, let's say photo taking.
Photo taking, yeah. So young people always say, I like to get a job that I like. And then I like to learn. I often remind them, you get paid for a job. So the first job is your first chance that somebody else are willing to pay for your time and your effort. Like, wow, you finally grow up, there's somebody actually willing to pay you for the job and the time that you perform. So then you would have to say, what's my responsibility to do in order for me to earn that? So I think that if young people today say, I always like to learn, I wanted to experience, I want to do all of that. But I think I will always say, where do you start? Get the first job that you like, or the first job that you do very well, but you don't know what you do well, like me, until I got to headhunting. Wow, I was on fire. You make many decisions, well, not so many, more than banking, and that I meet many people, and it sort of excites me to help people because I found my purpose is to help others, and I'm very good at it. So 37 years later, I'm still doing it. So first job is, as Roger said, neither yes or no. It's about your courage to really trying to self-aware of what you do well, what you don't do well, and be honest with that. So I think since then I have had many, obviously dealing with many people from different world, from different perspective of life about their career and so on and so forth. So answer to these questions is whether it's important to define, yes, as Roger said, sort of, okay? I.e., the first job define your, not your identity, but it should help you to know what you are not good at, but also to help you to understand you might good at. But more importantly, is to know when to quit, when this job has not worked for you in a way that you neither good at or you don't like it. So when you're not good at it and you don't like it, it's probably time to quit. And to move on, I think that you may never find something that you're very good at and you like it, then you have some problem. And I would imagine that the better thing is to find job that you're good at first. And then when you get paid and you get promoted and everybody want to give you a lot of money, then you will like it. So it's easy to like a job that you're good at. So that's my life to trying to navigate the world, and I've been in headhunting and fast forward. And maybe I just finished the story of my life, which is a very long life, about what at the end of my writing, an important concept that came to me, it is the cycles of life. It sounds very logical. Life has cycles. And we're born and we die. And I thought to myself that everyone, so much money poured into gift, attention, when a baby is born. Everyone, the whole world, the whole family, pour their really heart out to welcome a newborn baby. Then when on the other side, you know, I was in the US and my friend's mother was in advanced stage of dementia. Okay? And when you're on the other side, there's not much celebration. Often people are alone. And in between, there are many things happen. And wouldn't want to celebrate the end of the life than to celebrate when you were first born. So these cycles of life when faced me when my mother passed away, to try to accept that she's not here today. And what helped me, and I hope also help you, perhaps, is gardening. That's why I never want to move from my house in Sungshui. I'm not a very good gardening. But when you see, number one, the butterfly. Why my book is Women Who Chase Butterfly. Butterfly is fragile. And butterfly comes and goes. And when you see the butterfly, you know that this butterfly will not live for a long time. And yet, a few moments later, there's another butterfly. So I learned that life evolves. They metamorphosis. And it begins to help me to have hopes. And then when I plant an orchid, it blossomed beautiful. And then when they die, I felt very sad in those times when I was writing my book. And then actually, I'm very good. I can regrow my orchid every year. New buds will come out. It gave me the sense of renewal of that life. Everything living has a definitive life. Everyone, everything, if they have a life, will be gone. And these cycles of life is not only about birth and death. It's about understanding that good times, bad times, nothing lasts forever. And to try to make sure that every day, obviously, we're happy that we're still alive. But not only that, to trying to not be afraid that cycles of life will continue and to continue without you knowing it and even without you controlling it. And that one of my book themes is about life controls you or you control life. There is no right answer. So if I say, who think that life controls you? Raise your hand. So everyone believes you control life. No one wants to say anything? I think that for me, if all the bad things that had happened to me, I'm the only one to blame. Was that life control me or I control life? My bad decisions of marriage, my bad decisions of choosing the wrong business partner, my bad decisions of all these love stories that always ended up in tears. Is it I control life or life controls me? I think both. It's never definitive. I think that my book hopefully to help to understand that you gotta, most important, self-aware, that you're always into an equilibrium, and that at any moment it can tip for the good or for the better or for the worst. So there is no answer. You have, I believe, that one has to live with both and to be self-aware that both can happen and it's not a choice that you could make. And hence, when book come out, I just learn every day. Whether it's life control me, I do think that life does control me. I have destiny. Today, I'm very lucky to be having a book talk in Hong Kong Trade Development Council, the biggest trade fair in Hong Kong. And now I can certainly believe there are 1 million visitors with over 1 million books on display. I am overwhelmed that along my way of this self-discovery, of these learning, seeking challenges in the last 6-9 months of publishing the book, I have only met with people who are so readily to help. Whether it is my brother bought 80 books, whether it will be my friend Shelley helping me, connecting me into her circle of media, which I know nothing about, whether it's Vernon who helped me to correct my English, and whether the Hong Kong Trade Development Council gave me the last booth that they had, not very good location, but nevertheless, it's a booth. And that I didn't know what to do when I have only one book. There are people coming and say, you are the author? I say, yes. Who's the publisher? I am. And then they couldn't understand, and then they asked again, who's the publisher? And I said, me. And then they walk around and say, oh, there's only one book? And I say, yeah. and then they was like, oh. But anyway, every day is a new experience, a new learning, and despite some time I have self-doubt as to whether that is a good decision to self-publish and to publish at all. I have received very good words from those who have read it, and that those who know me, those who don't know me at all, and those who are colleagues and friends, and your words meant much to me. I haven't had any criticism other than the headmaster to tell me that, you know, you have an unconventional life. And then I said, well, what, should it stop me from publishing? And I didn't ask her that. But I know I have an unconventional life. It is not by choice. Maybe it's by choice. It's probably is the decision that I have made, but I never thought that I should have an unconventional life, but somehow my life had become what it is today. I have become who I am today, and the beauty of becoming. So I hope that some of you have not bought the book, will buy at least 10, and that we will need to help Harmony House to publish their book. I really want to do their book, and I want Scholastic to help, and to do the book to help. I think the biggest issue for young children probably growing up is managing the unresolved emotion. I'm sure all of us have. How have we, through growing up, managed to help us to manage our own unresolved emotion? I think that for children, and they do that in a way that is obviously funny, and the books are really funny if you have time to read those books. I was in the book booth, and a lot of times I was reading other books. And so I hope that you will help me to help them by not only buying the book, but hopefully to spread the, by the way, the social welfare department in the next 2 years, there's probably a significant changes in Hong Kong government on the way on allocating fund. And since Harmony House has been around for a long time, they will face a critical stage that they may not have funding anymore. So I do need your help, and that it is a cause. I have come from the most loving family. My father, my mother, my brothers, sisters. I wouldn't be what I am today and who I am today without the most loving family. And I wanted to be able that those who doesn't or don't will have a chance for the little thing that I can do to help hopes, to help support, and hopefully preventions of any violence, in particular domestic violence, because it is not necessary. And it's probably something any society must face. So that's my end of my talk. And I'd love to have your questions to me in any way, form. For those, many of you have read my book, so please fire some questions for me so I can prepare for my next book. No, there won't be a next book. I have only one life. There's nothing else left to say. And so thank you so much. And please, I welcome questions. Thank you.
Anybody would like to ask any questions? We can pass you the mics.
Yes. Frank, you must have at least one question. Since you're the publisher.
Yeah, well, I certainly have read your book. But I think I'm probably one of the very few who read your first manuscript before you disappeared. Then I thought you have a writer's block, and then for a couple of years, and then you reemerge with the whole book. So congratulations. When I read the book, maybe one thing you can, when you reflect on it, right? A lot of failed relationships.
You mean my relationship?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes, I have.
Yes. What was the net takeaway then? In terms of why?
If you refer to my romance.
So many of them. I lost count.
No, that's not true. So for those who haven't read the book, I only have 4. 4. Julius, how many you had? I know. Julius have been married for 27 years. So for those young girls here, there's no a good number or right number. I'm sure some of you had married. My sister-in-law married my brother as the high school sweetheart. They have only one love story. So I'm not quite sure. So what's the question again? Sorry.
It's kind of like when you reflect back on it, was it the break? You jump into it, and then somehow you never consummate.
Consummate. Okay, consummate. Yeah. I have consummated. Commitment. I commit. Yeah, I understand what you mean. You see, my problem, for those who don't know me, I like to fall in love. I don't have a purpose. I don't have a mission. I don't have, if I say that it's not a project, I fall in love any moment. I don't know how, I don't know who, I don't know when. It could be any time. It could be someone I know for a long time. It could be somebody I walk on the street. I'm not a calculated person that I must get married. And the only thing that I was calculated, that was my marriage. I had a mission. I need to get married before 30. And there was nobody else there for, and I had a target. And that was a disaster. I jumped into it. I took a very naive decisions to marry because I really do want to marry before 30. And I want to stay in New York, so I said, wow, this guy, I fell in love with his lifestyle. I fell in love with the idea of marriage. So that was a disaster. But I think the other four, he wasn't one of the four. And the other four loves, I fell in love. I don't know. And maybe I'm a bad person that, I know why. When you fell in love, I'm sure most of women would agree, we become a pleaser. You know what a pleaser is? We please. We fall in love with the idea, and then we become like, we are yours. We want to please everything. Are you okay today? Or like, oh, can I wash your clothes or do your laundry or what? And so I become a pleaser. I want too much and too quickly. So anyway, all of them ended up in disaster too. So anyway, that's not a disaster. I think that, you know what? I will fall in love again and again. I know time is coming, to a time limit, but I wanted to be able to do that again and again if it ever happened. And if it doesn't, I think I'm the luckiest person. Because who had 4 real love affairs in this room? Please, more than 4, please raise your hand. Please. I don't want to, oh, Cecile, you have more. Yay, yay. So I don't feel like I'm the indiscriminate person, okay? So I'm the luckiest person. Vernon already told me, what else do you want? You got 4 love already. And I say yes. So answer to your question is, I will spontaneously fall in love. Could be anyone, maybe someone I know for my whole life. It could be somebody I walk in the street. I'm just not a person with a mission. Please ask me at least one more question and then we can go to dinner. I know everyone, but I know that is really late now. Oh, Cecile, you have one question.
Yes, thank you first, Louisa, and congratulations for your book. One question for you. You talk a lot about your insecurities. Could you share some?
I think that I have done some study on myself. When I was young, I was very fat. My nickname is Fei Yi, means Fat Yi, because my Chinese name is Wai Yi. I worked really hard. My brother would tell he didn't work very hard because I worked very hard, and he's the opposite of me. And that I always wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning and study for exam. So I'm always like a tomboy. So early on, I'm already have very, how do I say, insecure of my own self. Particularly when you're a teenage and you see lovers around the corner, and I say, what happened to me? I got nobody chasing me. So this insecurity not only was because of my own presence, but I think that in life sometimes it goes deep in you. And I also, these insecurities and most people are self-worth, about you're not good enough. You're not good enough, not only with others, but yourself. And that's the biggest hurdle. And I'm a perfectionist, and that's also make it even worse. And that every day I ask myself that I have done a lot, so what is enough is enough. So insecurities is sometimes could be, also Hong Kong is a place where you don't have to look far. Everyone, everywhere, everything will make you feel insecure. I live in Shui for 10, 12 years now. And I have a lot of insecurity about it. People may ask, when I live in Repulse Bay, and then I moved to Shui, they will ask, are you okay? What happened? And then I try to describe, oh no, I love my garden, I have my dogs, they play in the garden. And then after a while, I just find it too tiring to explain. And I just said, oh, I lost money in the stock market. And then they stop asking. So sometimes it's about the decision that you make that only you know why. And when others judge you, that's where insecurities come about. And we women live in a man's world. I live in a man's world. Headhunting is definitely a man's world. All our clients are men. All the candidates are mostly men. So we live in another world that how we are judged often are unfair. So this also creates a huge amount of insecurities. Are we good enough? And whether what we expected are somehow different from ourselves, what we expect ourselves, what others expect of us. Our performance in our own way are judged very differently. So all these insecurities can also be social media, friends with better lives. I also feel very insecure when I go to a friend, and Julius know that. Oh, why waste time on drinking not good wine? And that's my insecurity come about. So it's about your choice. If I choose to how to spend my money, it should not be judged by others. It's either good or bad. That if I choose to spend money not in buying the most expensive wine or to bring the most expensive wine to friends, that doesn't mean that I'm cheap. So they always say, you are cheap. Julia said that. So this kind of social anxiety in Hong Kong, you cannot escape. So insecurities are around us, and they don't discriminate, gender, age, wherever you are. So I live with it every day. So how do I live with it every day? I talk to myself. I pat myself shoulder. It's okay. You know, get a drink. Tomorrow is another day. It's a better day. 瞓完覺一個好安. So in Chinese, it say, you know, go to sleep. Tomorrow is another day. So I hope tomorrow is another day for all of you. A better day, a sunny day. And I thank you all for listening to me. And thank you from my heart to your heart all my friends, family who have helped me along my journey, and I thank you.